That night, Tom returned to the park, his heart pounding with anticipation and fear. He found the wardrobe, covered in a thin layer of dust, standing strangely out of place against the backdrop of trees. With trembling hands, he opened its door. The world spun, and suddenly, Tom was no longer in the familiar park. He was in a dark, desolate version of Lapses, where buildings stood in ruins, and the streets were silent, covered in a thick fog. It felt like a shadowed reflection of his town, as if time itself had decayed. As he walked through the empty streets, he sensed an invisible presence, something dark lurking just out of sight. Every corner, every whisper in the wind felt ominous. He made his way to the town square, where the old clock tower loomed. Its once proud face was cracked, and its hands moved backward slowly, defying the passage of time. Tom realized he was in a place where time had broken, where reality itself had begun to crumble. Inside the clock tower, Tom found a chamber filled with a faint blue mist that seemed to breathe with life. Strange relics lay scattered on the floor, as if abandoned long ago. In the center of the room stood a stone staff, engraved with ancient runes that glowed faintly. He felt an intense energy emanating from it, and a voice in his mind whispered, urging him to take it. The staff felt cold and heavy in his hands, its power thrumming beneath his fingertips. He understood that this was the key his grandmother had spoken of, a relic capable of controlling time, but he could also feel the weight of its power, the danger it held. To wield it would require a sacrifice. He hesitated, realizing that the choice before him was no easy one. He could leave things as they were, abandon Lapses to its fate, or he could take a risk and try to restore the town, knowing he might lose himself in the process. But the thought of his family, his friends, and all the people of Lapses filled him with determination. He couldn't turn his back now. With a deep breath, he recited the incantation his grandmother had written in her journal. The moment he spoke the words, the blue mist swirled around him, and he felt himself being pulled in every direction. Time itself seemed to unravel and then weave together again. When the mist cleared, he found himself back in the real Lapses. But everything was different. The buildings were whole, the streets were lively, and sunlight poured down as if nothing had happened. The town was safe, restored to its former self. But as Tom looked around, he felt a strange weakness overtaking him. His body felt heavy, as if every bit of strength was draining away. The sacrifice demanded by the staff was coming due, and he realized that it was his own life energy it required. His vision began to blur, and he could feel himself fading. The edges of the world softened, and he knew he was becoming part of the town itself, a guardian forever bound to Lapses. His final act had saved it, but it had also claimed him. As he faded from the world, a sense of peace washed over him. He felt no regret, only a deep satisfaction. He had played his part, and Lapses would live on, safe from the darkness that had threatened it. In the years that followed, stories of a strange young man who had saved the town began to circulate, whispered from one generation to the next. Some spoke of a shadowy figure, others of a mysterious staff hidden in the old clock tower. But no one knew the full truth of Tom's sacrifice, or the price he had paid to keep Lapses safe. And somewhere in the heart of the town, a faint whisper seemed to drift through the air, a gentle reminder that some things and some people live on in ways beyond time.